Welcome to the 222 YouTube channel, very first video. Normally here, I'll do some sort of intro, something where I want you to text me and let me know, answer some questions or whatever. But today what I want you to do is shoot me a text, let me know that you were able to find this, and also let me know that you hit that subscribe button. Let's begin. Today we're going to continue looking at what we were looking at last week, which is legalism. And today we're going to specifically look at how legalism affects relationships. And so if you have your Bibles, I want you to open to Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. All right? So I want to read this to you. This is a story about two women named Mary and Martha with Jesus. Let's read. Now as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me." But the Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her." So let's compare and contrast Mary and Martha a little bit. So let's start lists on the screen. So we have Martha and we have Mary, right? So Martha, as a person, what is she like when we read the story? Well, one, she appears to be in charge. She's the one who invited Jesus in, after all. Because it's her house, she's most likely the oldest between the two of them. She orders Mary around. And it seems like she feels unappreciated. And she's centered on her duties, right? All right, so let's contrast that with Mary. Mary is quiet. She's listening. And she's centered on what or who? She is centered on Jesus. So why is Martha upset with Mary? Because Martha's upset because Mary is just sitting at Jesus' feet and there's a lot of work to do. Does Martha have a point? Maybe. Is she doing things that are wrong? No, she's cleaning up, she's serving. And so Martha's practicing this principle that when there's work to be done, we should be doing it, which isn't a bad thing to live by. That's not a bad rule. So what's the problem here? The problem is that Martha misuses the rule by putting the rule before people. So who is Martha upset with? She's upset with both Mary and Jesus, right? Because she's mad at Mary for not helping her, but she's mad at Jesus for not making Mary help her. She's like, "Jesus, why aren't you saying anything? You should be telling you should be telling Mary to help me, but you're not." We see this because she uses phrases like, "Lord, why don't you care? My sister's left me to do all the work alone. Do you not care? My sister's let me serve alone." Instead, what could have Martha's attitude have been? She could have rejoiced because she was able to serve and allow Mary to sit at the feet of Jesus. Over the last couple months, we've looked at compassion and love and pride and how Jesus shows us care and all those things. And when we see what love truly looks like, what we notice here is that Mary is totally forgotten. Martha's appeal for justice is totally self-centered. It's all about what she wants and needs in that moment. It's not about everybody else. It's not about anybody else in the room. It's about her. The rule isn't bad, but the self-centeredness is. We see this again elsewhere if we go to John chapter 12. John chapter 12, verses 1 through 8, we see Mary and Martha again. And this time, it says, 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him at table. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas, one of his disciples, who was about to betray him, said, "Why is this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" It tells us he didn't say this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. One of the things what's interesting is we see Mary at Jesus' feet again. We see Martha serving. And here we see another good principle that's just implemented incorrectly. Judas saying, hey, we should care about the poor, that's not wrong. John, the author, gives us insight into Judas' heart, though. And Judas' heart is not actually on the rule. It's on his selfish ambition. It's on his self-centeredness. One of the things that reveals self-centeredness is marriage. And I see this in my life. There's times where Jessica asks me to do something, and I will say I'm busy doing, and I'll put something in there. And that may be true. I may need to get that thing done, but she's asked me to do the dishes, and I have 5 minutes to spare. But I'm like, no, here's my self-centered, I have to do this, and that causes a break in our relationship a little bit. And she gets upset and she's hurt because I've communicated to her that whatever I'm doing is more important to me than she is. And so the question is what things do you put above loving people? What things do you put in front of serving people? When we put things in front of people, and when we have these rules, this self-centeredness, it actually reveals our idols, right? And so let's look at this again, and I want to show you guys something. Let's make a chart. And so we're going to look at Martha. We're going to look at Judas. We're going to look at Mary. So what is their idol? Martha's was work and appearance, right? Like you got to look like you care and you're busy. Judas, his idol, money. Mary's idol was Jesus. And what does this lead to? Well, Martha's idol of work and appearance leads to being aggressive, and demanding. Judas, it leads him to be a thief and just mean, right? But like Mary's idol, Jesus, leads her to be quiet, content, and generous. So the question is you. What do you fill those blanks with? What do you fill that spot in that's an idol, and then how does that manifest itself? Is it sports? So, or your ballet or whatever it is, to where if you're in the backyard or in a room practicing and someone asks you to do something and you yell at them because you're very focused on that thing and you can't help your sister or your brother right now, or you can't help your mom because you're busy, so you snap at them. Is it grades, to where instead of getting rest you stay awake, which causes you to, again, be irritable? Or is it truly Jesus, and are you content? And are you generous with your time? And are you loving towards people? The final thing I'll say is when we think of Martha and Judas, do you think they realized that they had idols? Not necessarily. The last thing I'll say is, do you think Martha and Judas realized that they had idols? Probably not. Often, when we have idols, we can be blind to them. We can be blind to what we're putting in front of Jesus, and it gets in the way of us fully loving people the way Jesus has called us to love people. And so what I want you to do this week, before we talk for small groups on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, is I want you to pray about it and think about it. Look at your life and ask God to reveal to you where you have idols. What do you put in front of people? And most importantly, what do you put in front of Jesus? See you in small groups.